Ariel Helwani in Toronto, gearing up for UFC 165 alongside the UFC light heavyweight champion Johnny Bones Jones, alongside Alexander the Mauler Gustafsson, who faces Jon Jones for the UFC light heavyweight title this Saturday night, live on pay-per-view. And Alex, it's good to see you. Thank you for the time. You know, we're standing in front of this poster here for the event, and I'm happy we are, because I want to ask you about the promotion heading into this fight. A lot of people have been critical of it, feeling like the UFC hasn't done a good enough job of selling you. Just talking about your height, your reach, but not saying that you're the pride of Sweden. A continent is hoping that, you know, you could win the UFC. You could be the first European champion in so many years, first Swedish champion. Do you feel like they've done a good enough job of telling the people who you are and that you are a big deal going into this fight?
Well, I haven't really thought so much about it. I'm just, you know, enjoying my time right now in the spotlight and having fun while I'm here. You know, I've been focusing on myself, in my camp, and this fight, this belt.
You're much more than just a tall guy with a long reach.
Oh yeah.
And they focused on that. Does that bother you at all?
Not at all. Not at all. I just, you know, I'm gonna shock the world on Saturday. I will show everyone who I am, what I have. So I'm not thinking so much about it. It's all good, but yeah. I'm shocking the world on Saturday.
John, congratulations are in order, my friend.
Thank you, sir.
Today, news came out, you'll be sponsored by Gatorade, and I got to know, I know it was a big deal for you to be sponsored by Nike. Which is a bigger deal, Gatorade or Nike?
Honestly, it's even. It's even, man. They're both Fortune 500 companies. They're both some of the top countries in the world to be aligned with. The coolest thing is, you know, for the people who's been paying attention, I've set that goal a long time ago. A long time ago, I was talking about being sponsored by Gatorade. Trying to put, you know, be in GQ magazine, things like that. Trying to be aligned with Nike, and another dream has come true. So, man, I really feel like a walking testimony of, like, if you set your mind to things, how things could come true for you. I feel like I'm like the law of attraction. I feel like I'm living that life wholeheartedly. I mean, everything that I've looked for out of life, it's come to me so far. And that's why I'm so confident going into this fight on Saturday. Everything's going so right. I'm working hard. You know, I'm not getting lucky. I'm earning things. And, I mean, I feel like a living testament to how you can just put your mind to anything and make it happen.
You're a very respectful guy. You've been respectful towards John in the English interviews, but an interview came out recently on a Swedish website, kimura.se, where you weren't as complimentary of him, calling him a spoiled brat, somewhat of a bullying thing. And it was very surprising because we hadn't heard this from you before. Where did this come from? Is this how you truly feel about him?
Yeah, you know, it's my personal opinion. First of all, I would say, like, I don't know Jones that well, but what I've seen about him, you know, I'm not big of a fan when it comes to his personal side. But, you know, it doesn't matter. That's just my personal opinion. As a fighter, as a champ, I have a lot of respect for him, and as an athlete.
When you say he's spoiled, what do you mean?
No, I just think he's, you know, I don't want to go into too much about it, but we've been hanging around a few times, and I just think he's you know, it seems like he doesn't care. He doesn't, like, you know, he's a little bit arrogant. I don't know. I don't want to go into too much about it, but, you know, that's what I just feel.
And I get the sense, correct me if I'm wrong, that in a way you're almost holding back. I get the sense that you really don't respect his skills. Like, you don't even feel like he's anywhere near your level, the way you break him down. Is that accurate?
No, that's not accurate. You know, I realize that in a fight, you know, anything can happen. So my job is to respect him wholeheartedly, train, give it my all. But with that being said, you know, because I respect him wholeheartedly and because I study so much, I see exactly where he truly is. And I know where I am, I know what I've done, and I believe in my training. So I would just say I have a really honest assessment of what I've accomplished and what he's accomplished, the way he's performed, the way I performed, and I speak about it honestly. And every fighter has a chance to win a fight, but my job is to make sure he has very, very small chances, and I think I've done that. Personality-wise, I think he seems like a great kid, a great young man. As a fighter, I believe that I'm better than him in literally every way. So, yeah, I was just surprised. You know, spoiled brat, that's a jealous comment. It just sounds like a jealous, someone who's coming from a jealous place would say something like spoiled brat. I don't think anybody's spoiled brat. You know, I'm happy with where I'm at in my life. And I really don't judge other people's characters. And as far as calling me a bully, it's like you can ask any fan who's ever met me. It's always a positive, amazing time. I sign whatever they want. We take pictures. Very personable. So me being a bully, the only person I bully is my opponents.
In order to really be that Floyd Mayweather, in my opinion, you need a Chael Sonnen to your Anderson Silva. You need a Joe Frazier to your Muhammad Ali, a Larry Bird to your Magic Johnson, a true foil, a rival. And I get the sense that that guy right now could be Daniel Cormier. You really don't like this guy. You really don't like it. I want to know why. Why do you get so upset when anyone mentions his name?
I think it's funny that you just said he's my Frazier. I think I've already...
Could be.
No, he's not. He's not my Frazier. I think Rashad Evans was my Frazier. And, you know, we saw what happened in that fight. It's the only guy to last the whole fight, which shows that was a legitimate matchup for me. But, yeah, I mean, Rashad Evans, it's safe to say I've already beaten my Frazier.
Cormier, not even on your level.
I'm not going to say that. You said that.
Well, you just dismissed him, so I was wondering if you don't even consider him.
He has a lot of work to do. He has a weight cut to do. He has to impress with some top 10 victories in the light heavyweight division, and then I think it'd be a little more appropriate for me to even mention his name.
Who doesn't want to see this rematch? You know what I mean?
Did you agree with the scoring?
To be honest with you, I got so caught up in the fight, and people were yelling at me and stuff, and I was yelling back at people, and I honestly didn't score the fight. When I was leaving the arena, people were saying I had it 3-2 for Gustafsson. Other people were saying 3-2 Jones. And then I talked to Mark Ratner, and Mark Ratner said he had it even going into the fourth round, and into the fifth round, and gave the fight to Jones.
Right. So,
I mean, it was a great fight. And again, it was one of those exciting, great fights because it's what nobody expected. Things happened that you did not expect to happen. And when that does, it freaks you out and you go crazy. And that's why I lost score. I stopped scoring a fight. And I mean, you didn't have to score the first round. Second round was, you know, whatever. And then I sort of lost it after there because people were yelling and crazy. And, you know, this is one of those fights tonight that you remember why you're a fight fan and why you love going to fight so much. And when a round ends and the whole place is on their feet with a standing ovation, you know, and they did that for all 5 rounds tonight. It was amazing. I love being a part of things like this, you know. It's so fun. In the last round, both of those guys were fighting on pure heart. Both fighting, you know, Gustafsson had never been 5 rounds before, and he got hurt bad with those elbows in the 4th round, got hit with some stuff in the 5th round. Jon Jones was busted up and kept moving forward, you know, pleaded with the doctor not to stop it in the 5th, and they were, you know, not that I can talk to this either, but, you know, I believe that this is one of those fights where both guys felt like they were going to die. You feel like you're going to, I don't know if I can continue. I don't know if I can keep doing this. You know, I don't know if I got one more round in me. If they even knew what round it was, one of those kind of fights. And, you know, it's why you got to respect what happened here tonight so much. I know there's a lot of people that don't like Jones and boo him or whatever the reason is. Everybody has a different weird reason on why they're not a fan of Jones. But I don't care if you like him or don't like him. You got to respect him, man. And what he's been able to accomplish, it's like even tonight breaking the record for most title defenses, you know, and it's going to sound like I'm taking a shot at Dummy, but I'm not. He went through murderer's row. Jones did. Jones went through the opposition that Jones went through to win that title and defend that title does not even compare to the record that he broke tonight, you know? And, you know, the heart that he displayed tonight, the chin, this guy's got heart, chin. I mean, he's got it all. To get busted up in those first 2 rounds and then come on the way that he did at the end of the fight, he's a special fighter, man. He's a special fighter.
Can you see Jon Jones being your Floyd Mayweather?
I don't know. It's hard to compare guys to Floyd. Floyd's just such a different animal. I mean, the guy hasn't lost. I mean, the closest thing to him right now is this kid. This kid hasn't lost in 8 years. You know, Floyd hasn't lost in 17 years. You know how hard it is to go 8 years undefeated? I mean, seriously, think about that. He doesn't get enough credit for the record he has and what this guy is capable of doing. And it's not just like he's undefeated and he goes to a decision and outpoints you. This dude fucking destroys you. You know what I mean? 8 years, over 8 years now, 21 fights in a row. That is impressive in this sport.
We just witnessed an instant classic between the reigning and defending UFC light heavyweight champion Jon Jones and Alexander Gustafsson. Chuck Mindenhall, Ariel Helwani here in the T-Dot. Chuck, I hope you have words, because I don't have any for that fight. Let me ask you off the top, who'd you have it for?
Well, I scored at 3-2 for Jones. I had 2-4-5 for Jones and 1-3 for Gustafsson. I think a lot of people I talked to had something similar to that, but obviously it was a very close fight, so a lot of people were kind of going back and forth. I did hear a couple people who had it for Gustafsson. So, I mean, we talked before this fight happened. We said, who's going to be this guy's rival? He doesn't have a rival. Who's going to be his Joe Frazier, that sort of thing for Muhammad Ali. I don't know if this is the guy, but that was the event that needed to happen for Jones to sort of establish that was somebody. Now, when they roll it back and they have a rematch, which it seems like that would be, depending on how things go, the way that the UFC would look at going for it, we might have the seedlings for something like that, which is kind of a cool thing, because in Jon Jones' era, so far we haven't seen that.
In your wildest dreams, did you ever expect Gustafsson to have such great takedown defense, so effective on his feet, just perform the way he did? Did you ever think of a scenario like that tonight happening?
That fight had its own plots, twists, and everything. It was crazy. I mean, there was a lot of things that were going on. The first thing being that the reach and the height maybe sort of did play a role. I know that we sort of were kind of downplaying that and laughing a little bit about it, but or at least I was. I shouldn't speak for you. But you know, in the end, he actually was able to effectively use that. I was pretty shocked, though, that he was able to keep stuffing that takedown just repeatedly. And then when he took him down, when he took Jones down, you started to realize you're watching something unfold that you had no idea was going to happen. And there's nothing better than in a fight when your expectations are blown and you no longer know your bearings are, you know, you scrambled your bearings, and then you're watching something completely new. Because I don't think too many people thought that they were going to see that fight come out of Gustafsson or Jones, really.
No moral victories in sports, no moral victories in life. But honestly, I mean, does his stock rise here? Alexander Gustafsson, no one expected him, a massive underdog. In your eyes, do you view Gustafsson as a different, better fighter than you did 12 hours ago?
Absolutely. I mean, we talked about it. A lot of people in the media, the people I've talked to, I think they really believe that Jones would be able to take him down at will. The fact that he's sort of established and rounded out his game with the wrestling and training with Eric Del Fierro and the guys over there where he trains with, he looked great tonight. I think that it's one of those rare fights where, you know, not only did he show well himself, but he humanized a guy who was considered pretty superhuman. He's coming in with the, you know, he comes in tonight with a Nike logo and Gatorade on his shorts, and you see these things and you're like, this is, and you see the bad boy stuff from Gustafsson, you think there's a divide even for them to be standing against each other. It was pretty amazing to see him, how well-rounded he was. He was effective. His coach, Eric Del Fierro, had talked about him being one of the better strikers, probably the best in the division. At the time, I might have had my doubts about that, but he sure showed well tonight. He didn't win the significant strikes, but he did well enough, and his wrestling was really the thing. You know, you watched him against a guy who we know is as strong and as athletic and as explosive as he is, able to shut that down. I mean, that was to me is amazing. Like you said, I'm still sort of reeling from that whole thing.
Jones has always been somewhat of a polarizing figure in our sport, and you mentioned how he's been humanized to a degree. Do you think the fans will appreciate him more because he withstood that, he went to the hospital right afterwards, or do you think there will be some backlash thinking that he didn't deserve to win?
There'll probably be backlash, but how could you not? I thought this in the fight, because the crowd was sort of doing that a little bit too tonight. They were booing him and alternately cheering him depending on what the scenarios were going on. You know, you establish an underdog rooting interest, I think, in fights like this. But then there's something like a heart of a champion that starts to emerge in a fight like this. And Jones certainly showed that. I thought that a couple of times he was rocked. We saw him bleeding. You know, we saw him getting frustrated with the takedown. I heard that he'd hurt his foot at some point during the fight. Just going through a lot of adversity. He'd never faced anything like that. And yet he still kept coming. He landed that late, spinning elbow. He was still coming very late in that fight. And to me, that started to show. I thought this guy has a lot more to him than I probably realized before. We just hadn't seen him in adversity like that, and that's one of the things you want. And you know, I would have to think that's something fans would want to see in a champion. Possibly.
Back in 1959, Ingemar Johansson put the Swedish boxing world on the map. Alexander Gustafsson was so close to cementing it, but really, he did just that here tonight, even in defeat. And of course, a lot more happened here tonight. Renan Barão, an amazing win. Khabib Nurmagomedov, an amazing win. Brendan Schaub with the submission. But it's really all about what Alexander Gustafsson and Jon Jones did here tonight in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. One of the greatest fights that we have ever seen at light heavyweight. One of the fights of the year. One that we will be talking about for a very long time. Hope you enjoyed our coverage. For Chuck, I'm Ariel. We'll see you at the next one.